Modern humans have existed for around 300,000 years. But here's something that might break your brain. For the first 288,000 of those years, nobody owned anything. No houses, no farms, no borders. Agriculture only appeared about 12,000 years ago. That means for 96% of human existence, we were just out here, moving constantly, following animals, following water, following seasons. Imagine trying to own a forest in a world where you move constantly. The idea of owning the ground beneath your feet would have been genuinely absurd. So what changed? Around 10,000 BCE, in a region we now call the Fertile Crescent, modern-day Iraq, Syria, Turkey, Israel, Iran, something extraordinary happened. Humans discovered they could grow food on purpose. But farming quietly introduced a problem nobody had ever faced before. Imagine spending 6 months growing wheat, clearing the land, planting seeds, watering every day, protecting it from animals, watching it grow. Then one morning, you wake up, and your neighbor is standing in your field, taking everything. What do? You can't just pack up and leave anymore. You're invested. And suddenly, for the very first time in 300,000 years of human existence, someone had to ask, who owns this field? That one question changed civilization forever. Here's what most people get wrong about land ownership. The first owners weren't kings. They weren't generals or wealthy merchants. They were farmers, ordinary people who worked the land. And the first ownership system had no documents, no courts, no police. It worked on something much more primitive. Everyone in the village could see who did the work. That farmer cleared those rocks. That family dug that well. That group built those walls. And because the whole village witnessed the labor, they gradually accepted the claim. Thousands of years later, a philosopher named John Locke would put a name to this idea. He argued that you gain a right to something when you mix your labor with it. You work the land becomes yours. And once villages started accepting this logic, they needed a way to protect it. Picture your farm doing well, really well. Your wheat is growing tall. Your family is fed. You have surplus to trade. Now imagine you're the farmer next to you, looking over at all that success. Except there is no fence. So what does the successful farmer do? They build one. Archaeologists have found evidence of stone boundary markers, ditches, walls, and primitive fencing in some of the earliest farming settlements, dating back 8,000 to 10,000 years. But here's the fascinating thing about a fence. A fence doesn't actually stop anyone. A determined person can climb over a fence in about 3 seconds. So why did fences work? Because a fence isn't a physical barrier. It's a message. Someone was here first. Someone invested in this ground. This is not empty land. The fence changed how people thought. And once people started thinking about land as something that could belong to someone, there was no going back. But small fences between neighbors were one thing. What happened when someone much more powerful noticed that land meant food, food meant people, and people meant power? Then rulers got involved, and things escalated fast. Ancient Egyptian pharaohs controlled enormous stretches of farmland along the Nile. Mesopotamian rulers were recording land ownership on clay tablets over 4,000 years ago. In China, emperors claimed divine authority over everything within their reach. In medieval Europe, kings distributed land to nobles in exchange for loyalty and military service. Why did rulers become so obsessed with land? Let's follow the chain. Land produces food. Food feeds people. People pay taxes. Taxes fund armies. Armies protect and expand land. The more land you controlled, the more powerful you became. And the more powerful you became, the more land you could take. It was the world's first infinite growth hack. Land ownership didn't just become the foundation of personal wealth. It became the foundation of civilization itself. Empires rose and fell based on who controlled the most ground. Wars were fought and are still fought over borders. The line between my land and your land became one of the most contested ideas in all of human history. But this raises a question that very few people actually stop to think about. Can anyone actually own land? I mean, really own it? Think about it. Ownership exists because people agree that it exists. Your house belongs to you because your government recognizes your claim. Your farm belongs to you because your community respects it. If everyone in the world simultaneously stopped believing in property rights, your deed of ownership would be just a piece of paper. Ownership isn't a law of physics. It's not carved into the universe. It's a story, a shared story, one that billions of people believe so strongly that it shapes wars, economies, entire lives. And here's what makes it even stranger. Different societies have told this story in completely different ways. Indigenous cultures around the world have historically viewed land as something to be cared for, not owned, more like a relationship than a possession. Some early European peasants held land as a community with shared grazing rights and no individual title. Medieval Japan had complex layered ownership, where the same field might technically belong to 3 different people at once. There is no single universal answer to who owns land. There are only the stories different people have agreed to believe. So, who was the first person to own land? Honestly, we'll never know. No single genius invented ownership. No moment exists when someone drew the first line in the dirt and changed everything. It emerged slowly, farm by farm, fence by fence, generation by generation. But here's what we do know. For 288,000 years, humans walked a planet they didn't claim to own. Then agriculture arrived, and a single question, who owns this field, sparked a chain reaction that produced private property, legal systems, governments, economies, nations, wars. Everything from the apartment you might be renting right now, to the borders that define your country, to the billions of dollars of real estate traded every single day, all of it traces back to one farmer thousands of years ago who worked a piece of ground and dared to say, "This is mine." And billions of people eventually agreed. Not because nature said so, not because God commanded it, but because humans decided to believe it. And that might be the most powerful idea our species has ever invented.